want to buy it. Hey everyone, it's Emily, the Fang girl. So when I came to Singapore, I actually didn't know anyone here. The first person I ever met was actually a connection of my brother-in-law, and I met his friend in Tiong Bahru for the first time, and we had food and some drinks, and that was really like my first social experience into Singapore. For me, I am definitely someone who loves to build community, make new friendships. I am an ENFP if you're into Myers-Briggs, and I am 8 wing 7 if you're into anagrams. So I hope that kind of explains like who I am as a person, but my nature is around a lot of like human connection, community building, and making like genuine, authentic relationships with people. I don't know, I just feel like people are very interesting. I think there's like something around like human psychology, why people are the way that they are. Even like with rude people or like angry people or like people I don't like, I'm always trying to figure them out and understand, you know, like what made you this way. And then with people that I really respect and admire, like the great quality traits, and then I also ask, you know, how did they get to where they are from point A to B, and like throughout their journey, what has made them into this person. That's kind of my philosophy on observing certain people. It's kind of transcended into the way that I view my relationships with people. A lot of people, especially my friends now who are in Singapore, they always like to ask me like, oh, how did you meet this person? How did you make friends here? Like, was it scary? Was it like lonely? To be honest, I kind of enjoyed the quietness in the beginning when COVID began because I could be by myself and like have my own thoughts. But eventually I did get bored and I was like, okay, I need to meet new people. And a lot of it was done through the internet. Yes, the glorious internet. So when I first came to Singapore, I began planning these like hiking meetups through meetup.com. Out of the meetups that I've planned, I only keep in touch with one person, and she and I are still really good friends even until today. Like, we do spin class together, we go hiking together. Some of the other people I met on meetup.com were a little bit creepy. Some we just didn't really keep in touch, but I think that's what it's like, right? Like making friendships is kind of like speed dating. Like, you're getting to know people quite frequently and you're putting yourself out there to find people who stimulate your intellectual thinking, or, you know, they have a lot of color and like light to bring to your own personal life, and vice versa. I'm just gonna dive into all the ways that I make friends here in Singapore. I do have a friend who has a really fabulous walk-up, and it's really nice. It has big space. You can invite a lot of people there for dinners, and that's what we've kind of done. We've done these like Saturday night dinners where we invite our own friends. We do like a mix and mingle, we do a potluck. We bring people from basically all walks of life and backgrounds together to drink some wine, watch a movie, and it's a really good way for me to meet new people as well. So doing this kind of like hosting type of event is really great because then you just bring groups of people together all the time, and they have something to teach you. They have something to kind of bring to the table, whether it's food, laughter, jokes, new knowledge. So that's kind of the purpose of doing these like bigger group meetups. If you see my friends right now in Singapore, you'd be kind of surprised by like where they all kind of come from, where I've met them, some through Instagram in the DMs, some through like meetup.com, through friends of friends, through community groups, through work that I do. I interview like entrepreneurs sometimes. I have always found it extremely helpful when my friends send me articles or events or resources or invite me to things, and I do that for them as well, right? Because I think friendship is only able to grow when you have certain touch points with them. So for me, I feel like I try to be as authentic and intentional with the good friends that I've met here in Singapore. I have groups that are really different and they kind of like to do what I like to do, right? And I like to do lots of things, but not everyone likes to do what I like to do. So I have a group that does volleyball every morning at 7 a.m. on Sundays. Most people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to wake up. But for me, I'm like, I get to go to East Coast Park, I get to eat McDonald's, get a hash brown, and then play volleyball. And I found a group of people to do that with. I found a group of people to play tennis with at 7 p.m. after work, just so that I can get somewhat of a good sweat and do some sort of exercise. I have a group where, you know, they can drink a lot and they can keep up. Yeah, so actually it's been very hard for me to find people who can drink as heavily as I can. So yeah, I have two girlfriends who are Malaysian. I mean, I don't know if it's a pattern or anything, but yeah, they know how to have fun. Sam and Z, if you're watching this, thank you for making my life so much more fun in Singapore. I have friends who are super type A, just like me, and are really entrepreneurial, or they're innovators and they're creators, and they know how to hustle. They know how the grind is. They know what it's like creating content while doing a full-time job. Those are people that are kind of hard to find, and sometimes we talk about things that other people don't go through, and I think, again, that's really important. And then I have friends who are colleagues who I like to get drinks with and kind of like talk about work, or like talk about big crazy ideas and just like bounce ideas off of each other. I have friends who are very philosophical, who are just very intelligent, and they're realists, right? Like sometimes I will go out towards the moon like a rocket ship, and then they're like, Emily, you know, like they bring me down to earth, and then they're like, okay, you need to calm down and really like think this through, let's have a strategy, like things like that. So I would say, yeah, like all my friends are really different, and I think I've been able to find people like that because I keep an open mind. We all have biases, but just keeping an open mind of like meeting new people and being intentional and just like wanting to learn from them, I think that will help open a lot of opportunities for you to meet new people. I'm also just very more forward, I guess. I initiate, I plan, I like to host, I like to bring people together. It's really just like in my nature to do all of these things. And I'm not saying like you need to plan like crazy parties or, you know, potluck dinners or things like that, but if you don't reach out to people, no one knows you exist. So if you want to make friends, like you have to initiate somehow. And I do think that friendship is really important when it comes to creating a life that is meaningful. I think it's kind of lonely to live life without any good, authentic friendships. I know planning seems really simple, but it's actually not. People think it's really straightforward, but again, it goes into like intentionality. So if you don't like planning things, at least do like one-on-ones or like small group settings, or find people who like to plan things and, you know, be their friends. And I think that's really important. I have also found that I just don't like certain things. I don't like rock climbing, and I refuse to be forced into rock climbing. I don't want to pay for rock climbing. I just don't enjoy rock climbing. I don't want to pretend I like rock climbing. So I have stopped doing things that I don't want to do. I surround myself with people who like to do the things that I like to do, or we have like similar interests and hobbies and things like that. That being said, it doesn't mean I don't hang out with people who rock climb. I just don't get peer pressured into doing things. And honestly, like I just plan things and then I invite people. I'm like, if you want to come, just come. If you don't, you don't. I'm doing this with or without you, so come if you want. And so like that's how I kind of like invite people. Just as someone who is like an event planner and like an organizer, if I invite someone to something like 2 to 3 times and they're like no, or they show up late, or they say that they're going and then they don't show up at all, you're most likely not going to be invited again. And so I just caution those people who are like, you know, if you're really looking to like find new friends, show up, right? Like really just show up, be present, meet new people. But honestly, like if you're one of those people who are really flaky, I mean, I'm just saying from my personal, like my own personal experience, like I just don't like flaky people. Like if I am hosting, I'll invite a bunch of people that show up and are present and are consistent. Because to me, friendship is really about consistency. Another thing that I was trying to figure out here in Singapore was like, who are the kinds of people that I wanted to surround myself with, right? Because there's that saying, like you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I honestly agree with that. I really do, because their characteristics, their humor, their, you know, philosophies, their way on life, they kind of rub off on you. And so when you're building your tribe or, you know, making friends, to me, like I look for people who are innovators, people who are like funny, people who I just like vibe well with, people who can support other people. I do not deal with drama or backstabbers. I just don't really want to be around people who are really negative and like bring other people down. You'll always find people like that who are kind of a negative Nancy, and I just don't surround myself with people like that. Even in Singapore, like I've met a few people who just really cared about like status and like money, just like to gossip. And you know, I was like, I don't really want to be around that kind of energy. And you know, if I'm gonna like choose my friends, those are not the kind of people that I want to choose to surround myself with, right? The hardest part wasn't like making friends or meeting people. I think the hardest part for me was like trying to figure out the ones that I could trust, the ones that I can be vulnerable with, and the ones that actually like cared about me. I have found friends here who are like incredible, and they check up on me, they check up on my mental health, they invite me to go hiking because they know I love hiking, even though they might not like it themselves that much. Because I'm always extending to other people, it sometimes gets kind of like lonely when no one extends back to me. So I think I really appreciate that in the type of friendships that I've made. And there has been a pattern of my best friends who are reachers too. I am probably, 75% the reacher, but I do have friends who check up on me and ask me how I am. And to me, that makes me happy. That really does. So I did talk about how I made friends on the internet. Yes, the dark, dark internet, which is funny because I think most people grew up with like their parents telling them to not talk to strangers online, and yet in this digital age and in this digital world, like that's what I do. I talk to a lot of strangers online. Not ones that are creepy though. If you're creepy and you're weird, I'm probably gonna block you, and I just like don't want to be your friend. But I have met a lot of good girl friends here, as well as like guy friends. They're not in Singapore, but they're like globally based, and I think it's so cool. Like connection is not deterred by barriers, right? You can really make friends like all across the entire freaking world. I have created Subtle Asian Digital Nomads group on Facebook with my two friends, Andy and Ivy. So I just met with these two ladies from the Subtle Asian Female Digital Nomads group. They're so cute. And yeah, it was actually really fun. We met at this cafe and we just chatted and kind of talked about our lives back in San Francisco. So really hope that I'll continue making new friends, and they're really great. Feel free to leave a comment here on YouTube. I can send you the link if you want to join. And it kind of goes to show like there's a lot of community groups that you can join. You can reach out to people through the messaging apps and talk to them and pick their brain and meet up with them for coffee, something like that, right? That's like really how I've met my friends online. Or even doing like Zoom calls or Google Hangout. Even if it's like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you're like making that like human connection, and you will have a friend in that region. Also, because I'm kind of like somewhat spinning this into like a more positive note, the other thing is just be careful too. Like don't be catfished. Don't trust everyone that you meet on the internet. Like for me, when I meet up with people, I kind of do a little bit of background research because I'm kind of paranoid, even though it's super safe in Singapore, but you never know. So just giving you that warning. Don't tell people like, hey, Emily is telling me to meet strangers on the internet. No, I'm saying you can make friends through the internet, but just be a little bit more cautious. I've also noticed that when you're building a community or you're building new friendships, I do think that it's important to be consistent and reach out. So it's not saying that you have to text this person like every day or you have to plan potlucks every week, but I think it makes sense for you to, reach out to them and like talk to them if they want to hang out. Obviously, if they're not being very engaging or they're not reciprocating like what you're doing, then that's fine, right? Like some people just don't vibe that well. You can find other friends. I really encourage people though to just initiate sometimes. You have no idea how many people kind of like message me or like tell me that they're introverted or like they're a little bit shyer. They don't know how to make friends in Singapore. A way for you to be uncomfortable, even for just a little bit, because when you're initiating and you're like, wanting to hang out with someone or start a conversation, that person might ignore you. But if they do, that's fine. You can always move on to the next one. And I don't know if this is accurate or not, and this is just like from what I've heard from like two of my Singaporean friends, but they said ever since like primary school and through like college and then like even career, you kind of stay and run within like the same group of friends. Because Singapore is so small, you kind of stick with the same group. It's hard to kind of like mix your friends together, or people just generally don't do that. I don't know if that's true, but let me know in the comments below. But I have heard that from like two of my friends, and they don't know each other, but they said, it's hard to meet new people. My suggestion is that, why don't you join groups to meet new people? Why don't you create the opportunity for other people to meet other people? I mean, that's what I've been doing, and I feel like it's worked very, very well. There are a few things to note as well. So as an adult, yes, it does get harder to make friends. It does. I think when we're older, there's so many things that we need to do and work on. Time is finite. We have career, we have our partner, we have hobbies, we have so many other things that are kind of sucking up our time and energy. And I think for me, because I'm in my late 20s, I do start to see this like difficulty of like juggling all of these things. If you're having trouble finding new friends, it's okay, because as an adult it only gets harder. And I will say that like people, when they grow up, they have biases. They judge a little bit more harder. I think when we're kids playing in the sandbox, our only concern was like if this person was gonna share their toy with us, or if this person was gonna help me build a sandcastle. Like we didn't see race or color, looks, right? Like we were just kids. Now that we are adults, we have these like preconceived notions about certain people. And I'm just saying that like if you want to make friends, I think you should just open your mind and talk to people. Really, like you never know what people will teach you. You never know who you'll meet, right? When you get older too, you do want to have a tribe. You do want to have people that you love and care about. I mean, if you have like 2 or 3 really close good friends, then maybe that's like all you need, right? If you spend all your time like working and like hustling and you don't have like someone to share that joy with, or you have like a group that like kind of supports you, then I don't know, life just seems a little bit more boring. You'll outgrow some people. You'll probably stop talking to a few of your high school friends, or you find that someone you were really good friends with is completely different from the person you want to become, and you kind of just drift farther and farther away from them. I think if you go in it with an open mind, you're intentional about it, and you're consistent, I think these are really like the 3 pillars of what can help you create and cultivate great friendships. I feel like I kind of just went on a spiel about like friendships, flowers, rainbows, but I mean, I think all of these things have really worked for me. And I've just kind of seen this like need for human connection and like friendships from people that I've met. And I really just wanted to kind of like give you all of my knowledge and like throw it at you and have you digest it and go out and make good friends. If you are willing to try, just try it. And if you found this was helpful, please leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you're going through. Is it hard making new friends as an adult? You tell me. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Other than that, I hope you find your community. I hope you find your tribe. I hope you go out and just like initiate more, whether it's like, asking a friend to get coffee or just doing something that makes you closer to a person. Definitely do that. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys soon.